Hey everyone, this is our last video on parametric equations, taking a look at kind of an advanced example here of given a graph, find the equations that make that graph. So we did an example last time with just a circle. Those are kind of easier ones because you know you're dealing with just sine or just cosine, that sort of thing. You'll probably see some sines and cosines in this one as well, but we'll go ahead and take a look at it. The first thing you want to do when you're doing these is to think in terms of x and y separately. So we're going to trace around this curve, but thinking of x first, and then we'll trace around it again the exact same way, thinking of y. So I have two kind of x and y graphs down here that we'll go through, and this I'm going to think of as my t-axis. For both of them, so time moving forward, and then what happens to the x, what happens to the y. So we'll go through the x first. So with this one, you want to pick a good starting place to begin. So I'll just highlight a few places where it might be good to start. You want something that's clear, right? So a clear point. So I would say some clear points, right, would be right here. Right here. So kind of along the x-axis, that -4, 0, and 4. On the y-axis, right, there's this. It's hard to tell where that exactly is. It might be 2.5. It might be slightly more, so that's probably not a good place to start. So I would not do anything on the y-axis, except maybe the origin. You could maybe pick something up here, but again, we'll see in a little bit when we get our equation out. This will probably require some graph shifting of a standard graph. So usually you want to start on an axis if you can. If you can't, then you look for another point, but usually you're looking x or y axis, where can I start for those guys. So we're going to go ahead and pick one of these. And again, you can kind of just pick which one of these you want. So it could be the right, could be the middle, could be the left. Let's go and start all the way on the right, just to see kind of how that goes. So I'm going to put in my highlighter here, and we're starting at that, and actually let me mark that also so we remember. We're going to remember this is our starting point right here. So we're starting at x is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that up here. 2, 3, 4. That is our high point, right? And as we move, right, our x is going to decrease, right, till it gets to 0. And then it's going to keep decreasing till it gets over here to -4. And I'll go ahead and kind of show that here. So we're going to go down to 0, down to -4, right, as we keep going. And 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll say that's -4 right there. Keep going around your curve, right, and I'm going to go ahead and put in this arrow so I remember. You don't want to highlight your whole graph and then get the curve, and then next time forget what is going on with that. So we'll go ahead and keep going. All right, so now we're going to keep going with the highlighter. So this is going to go around from -4 up to 4. And then we'll go and draw that in down here. So from -4, we went back up to 0, and then back up to +4. So you can tell this is probably going to be some sort of like cosine curve coming through here. Go ahead and keep going, right? So now we're going from 4 back up to 0, back to -4. So I'll do that again. From 4 back to 0, back to -4, and then from -4 to 0, back to 4, and we're getting closer. So -4 back to 0, back to 4. And then I think one more time. All right, from 4 to 0 to -4. And again, we're just looking at our x's. All right, so back down to here. And then from -4 to 0, back up to 4. So go back up, x's going all the way back up to 4. And then it would start the same cycle again. So if I kept going around, I would just retrace that same path over and over again. Again, here we're not restricted on what speed we're going to move through our path. So we can kind of pick what we want for that guy. So we could say this is 2 pi right here, or this is 2 pi over here. We might go ahead and do the y before we kind of pick what our scale is going to be for our t-axis. So we'll talk about that in a second. But we're at least making 3 cycles of what looks like a cosine curve for that x. All right, we'll go and do the y next, and I'm going to change colors here. So we'll go through this maybe in pink and purple for this curve. And let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on with this one. I want to start in the exact same place I did before. So we're going to start right here on the right side. And as we move, we're going to go in the same direction, right? So again, now I'm thinking of y. And anytime I hit an extreme, then I'll kind of think about what that's going to look like. So I'm starting at 0, going up till I get to 4. Or actually 3 is the y value right there. And then I'll keep going right down to 0. Back down to -3 right there. And then back up to 0. And let's go ahead and mark that on our curve. So we started at 0, went up to 3, back to 0, down to -3, back to 0. So that would look something like this. Starting at 0 right here for my y. We're going to go up to 3, down to -3, back up to 0. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at for this one. So this hit 3, this hit -3. We'll go ahead and do that again, right? So again, from here, we're going to go from 0 up to 3, then down to 0, down to -3, back up to 0. And that'll complete our curve. So this one, right, I might want to kind of mark it. This was our halfway point about right here. So it's kind of where we ended that one. And then we're going to go back up again, down, and then back up. So, so these all need to end right in the same place for those guys. So you're just doing like this kind of rough sketch that's right there. All right, well, looking at this, I would like there to be maybe both of these ending kind of at the same place. So I'm going to make this 2 pi units right here. So that's 2 pi units. And if you remember back when we were talking about graphs, right, this completes 3 cycles, right, in 2 pi units. So I could say this is, let me change that back to blue. I could say this is y equals, it's got an amplitude 4. It's a cosine curve. So it's starting at a peak. And I complete 3 cycles in that period 2 pi. So this will be a 3 times t. So we got a 3t for that one. So whenever you're going through those, make that look like a t. There's other things that you could do, right? So you could do your period, right, is 2 pi over k. So this period is 2 pi divided by 3, because I got 3 cycles in it. So period on this one, right, 2 pi over 3. And we know that the period is 2 pi over that b or k value, or often letters that are used in there. So if it's 2 pi over b, then that b has to be 3. So that would be that 3 that's in that cosine. The y, right, I can kind of think of it as the same way. This is going to be y equals, this time, right, this looks like a sine function. It's starting in the middle, right, going up. So this would be a 3 for amplitude, 3 sine. And this will have a period, right, of 2 cycles completed in that 2 pi. So this would be 2t. that I put in there. So that B value is just how many cycles you complete in that 2 pi units. And those would be my functions right there. So I'm just going to put a big old bracket around that and call that good. Now you can always go back and check these, right? Which I recommend. If you want to check that, you can just pull up Desmos. And this should be not a y, this should be an x right here. X is that 4 cosine 3t, y is the 3 sine 2t. So x and y equation. In Desmos you can put those in or in your calculator and just see if it matches that graph right there. So let's go and do that, and that'll kind of wrap this one up. So let's see, we'll go ahead and go to Desmos here, and I'm going to go ahead and hide these guys, and then we'll just put in what we just found. So for our x, we had 4 cosine of that 3t, and we'll go ahead and put a comma. All right, and then put our y. Our y was 3 sine of 2t. I'll put that. And then we don't want t to go 0 to 1, right? This doesn't give us our whole graph. So we could go 0, t is 0 to, we kind of designed it to be 2 pi. So I'll just put in 2 pi there. And that should match that curve that we saw before. So it does look like it goes over to 4. That's over here on the right. And then it goes up to a value of 3. That's right up there. So looks like the same curve to me. And that's always a good check, right, to make sure you got the right equation. So that's it. If you want to try this next one on your own, this one looks way more complicated, right? There may be something weird going on with that one, but it's sort of the same deal with some of these guys. And if you want to see a different video with that, just put in a request. I'll try to make another one of that. But that's it for now, and we'll see you on the next one.